Tonight, President Trump is defending his social media post of this AI-generated image that depicts him as Jesus Christ.
I did post it, and I thought it was me as a doctor, and had to do with Red Cross as a Red Cross worker there, which we support.
Still, the post has been taken down. The White House has not said why. The Archbishop of Miami telling us.
I think the president is trying to walk it back and trying to put a different spin on it, which I think is a recognition on his part that he probably overstepped or went too far.
There was even swift backlash online from some of the president's MAGA coalition, who wrote, "God shall not be mocked," and there is no context where this is acceptable. The president today holding a photo op with a delivery driver who brought McDonald's to the White House to tout his no tax on tips policy.
Hello, this is Brother Gabriel. Welcome to our Bible-based YouTube channel. I want to jump in here for just a minute. Yes, on April 12th, 2026, U.S. President Trump posted an AI-generated pic portraying him as Jesus Christ, wearing the typical sort of garb that Jesus was clothed in, showing Trump/Jesus laying hands on a sick man lying on a cot. I'm sure you've seen that. Well, since news of this first broke, the media worldwide has been abuzz. They've been on top of this like white on rice. Please leave your thoughts, your impressions about this, what we believe is a very serious issue. Whatever your feelings about it might be, leave them in the comment section of this video. Thanks a lot for doing that. At this channel, by the way, a key mantra of ours is, the mind is like a parachute. It works best when open. Now then, at the conclusion of this next video clip we're about to see here in just a second, I'll be along with my own take, my objective take about this incident, wherein Trump looks like he might have if Central Casting had tapped him to play the role of Jesus in The Last Temptation of Christ or in some other Passion Play production. Here now, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, selected randomly are highlights of Newsnight with Abby Phillip, wherein she hosted a roundtable discussion about Trump impersonating Jesus Christ.
An uncharacteristic move by President Trump after significant blowback from both the left and the right. He's now deleted this AI-generated post depicting himself as Jesus. But according to him, that isn't the likeness of Jesus, and he's surprised that anyone would think otherwise.
I just heard about it, and I said, how did they come up with that? It's supposed to be me as a doctor making people better.
But tonight, Vice President J.D. Vance had a different explanation. He said Trump is just trying to be funny.
Right. I think the president was posting a joke, and of course he took it down because he recognized that a lot of people weren't understanding his humor in that case.
Father Edward Beck is here with us at the table. Father Beck, is this a funny joke? It seems like most people didn't take it that way.
Well, I think rightly so. What doctor have you ever seen with light rays coming out of his hands to heal someone and rays from heaven coming down, blessing him in red and white garments? I mean, the president, I think, is being disingenuous, quite frankly, by saying he thinks it was a doctor's image he was posting. There's no Red Cross image in the photograph. There's an image of a nurse in a blue uniform, but nothing about the Red Cross. So I just think all of his comments did not follow what everybody else saw. And for J.D. Vance to say it was simply him being humorous, I think, well, which was it? If he was trying to be humorous, most people didn't get it. So basically, we're blaming people for not getting his humor and the liberal media for not getting it. I just think you always put the blame somewhere else, but why not just say, look, I made a mistake. I posted the wrong thing. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done it. I just think that would be more reasonable.
Because he deleted it, but then lied about it?
That's not who he is. I mean, I think we have to get to the point where we're like, when are the lies enough lies? When do the people of America who support this man say, this is enough lies? Like, quite clearly, everyone who's ever dressed up for Halloween knows if you're a doctor, you put on a white coat and a stethoscope. Like, that's the doctor costume, not the Jesus costume, which is what Donald Trump put himself out being. And it's putting himself in the place of God, not with God, in the place of God. I think the bigger issue here is that Trump's behavior from the whole week is that he's not mentally fit to be in this position right now. He threatened 90 million people with instantaneous death. He's terrorizing the world. He's ruining the economy. He basically said we're going to get rid of a 6,000-year-old civilization. And then he went to an ultimate fighting championship game to wave at people, right? Like, we can't pretend that this is okay, that America is the good guy in this situation. It's no longer even pretending that we represent freedom and justice or democracy in the world when we have this one man with unquestioned, unchecked power acting however he wants, and then we try and make excuses for it after the fact. It's too much, and we have to stop.
So, Lee is not the only person describing Trump's behavior recently as erratic. And the Times put it all together in a piece that says Trump's erratic behavior and extreme comments revive mental health debate as the former president threatens to wipe out Iran, attacks the Pope. Even some former allies and advisors are questioning whether he's grown increasingly unbalanced, describing him as lunatic and clearly insane. And look, let's pretend that it's not Trump. If someone that you loved who is in a position of power, like a CEO or something, posted something like that, people would be calling and asking, are you okay?
Well, I think what the reason Trump said that is because the person that originally posted it was, I think, February 6th. And he actually said he posted it because Trump is the doctor for the country. And that's why he posted it out there. Now, the image is obviously a problem, which is why President Trump pulled it down. But I believe President Trump probably didn't think of it as being Jesus at the time. He saw it as, oh, I'm healing the country, which is what
you believe that.
No, I believe that.
Depicting
I definitely
Hal, you believe that he was depicting himself as a doctor?
Well, that's what the original post was about, and so Trump retweeted it.
No, I believe, because I don't think Donald Trump knows who Jesus is. Well, so I honestly believe that he was confused. I mean, the fact that people can't call a spade, like, this was sacrilegious. I mean, there were people who gave Barack Obama hell for a tan suit and a selfie stick. And you have somebody out here who's mocking Jesus Christ, and the Republican Party, GOP, they think they're God's only party anyway. They simply can't say our president messed up. And then when Riley Gaines, who I don't agree with on much of nothing, Jason Whitlock, who I don't agree with on absolutely anything, when they had the audacity to come out and chastise the president of the United States, he chastises them back.
But he pulled it down. When you say he won't admit it, he did pull it back down.
But who is in charge of the man who's in charge of the free world? If he can put out things and then be like, whoops, we can't have someone in charge who can do that. He needs to at least have a team around him that can stop him from putting up the wrong thing.
He's the president of the United States. He can put whatever he wants up. You're not in charge. You can't tell him what to do.
That's the attitude in the White House.
But that's he can.
No, go
that's
ahead.
the problem.
No, go ahead.
I only have to push back, though, that he did it. It stayed up for 13 hours.
Well, I'm just saying, she keeps saying, who's going to stop him from doing this?
Well,
Congress,
I think
Congress is going to stop him.
People are supposed to stop him.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. You've been trying to jump in. It's like double dutch around here. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm just confused as to what the New York Times is identifying as being odd behavior here. I mean, this is precisely how he's behaved for the last 8 years, 10 years. If you ask Republican voters back in the first term, the first thing they tell you they don't like about Donald Trump is the tweets back when it was Twitter.
Right.
The tweets. You can't count on 15 hands how many times his social media has gotten him in trouble, and yet he can persist in part because this is something
that
But don't you think on
No, it's not okay. It is just a feature of how he is, and I wish they had a more
I think
disciplined comm shops.
I think you're right. Like, look, there's a polling earlier this year. 61% say that Trump doesn't share their values. 64% say he does not have the right temperament to be president. So you're right. Americans see him for who he is. But I think the issue,
Republicans don't like that too.
The issue right now is on the importance of the things that he's sending these messages about. It's not just calling his political opponents names. He's threatening to wipe out a civilization in the middle of a war. And then he's getting into a tit for tat, which we'll talk more about in a little bit, with the Pope, and then sending out an image that even his own supporters are saying, don't do that. I mean, Riley Gaines's comment was, a little humility would serve him well. God shall not be mocked. But it's the why. It's the stuff that he's doing it on that makes a difference.
I do think there's a little.
Just let Noah respond, please.
Well, I actually don't have much to say. I think everybody's right. I think Riley Gaines is right that we wish the president would exercise a little bit more discretion. He cannot do that. He refuses to do that. And then folks like J.D. Vance come around and say, well, this is what's best about him. It does fuel his ego in ways that
But I also think that we're not clearly acknowledging the fact that it's getting worse. And I had a great aunt, Jenny Marie. She was the matriarch of our family. And she was 88 years old and still driving. And then she used to come to church and park in the front. And then the day she hit the pastor's car, my dad had to go take away the keys, right? Because it just progressively got worse.
Is this going to be an Article 25 discussion again? You guys have been talking about Article 25.
No. So I have two concerns. One is that the president, I believe, lacks discernment, and I think that's getting worse. The second thing is you won't call a spade a spade. And the fact that if you can't call what he did sacrilegious, which is clearly the definition of sacrilegious, I think that would be my second problem.
Well, obviously, I wouldn't have posted it out there, and I think President Trump realized he shouldn't have pulled it down.
But can you be critical of him?
I also
sure. I don't think he should have posted.
But why not apologize? Why not admit I did something?
That's a very good question.
I think part of it is in politics. When you start apologizing, you run into problems, and I think that's the issue.
That is not okay. Just to be clear.
But in Christianity, when you start apologizing, you actually hope.
Just to be clear, it is not true that in politics, when you apologize, things start to go wrong. That the only person who believes that is Donald Trump, and he is wrong about that. In politics, it is okay to acknowledge mistakes. That's actually what most politicians do. The fact that Trump doesn't do it is not it's not a virtue, Val. I mean, it's not a virtue. And why, by the way, is it that Trump needs to post something first, see the backlash to realize that it was wrong?
Well, as was said, he's been posting now for 12 years.
Yeah, but does he have the judgment to know that it's wrong before he posts it?
I think he does. I mean, this was done at 3 in the morning, I think. So
what was going on at 3 in the morning at the White House?
He just thinks it's cool. Like he posts this thing where he's dressed up as Robert Duvall in Apocalypse Now, going to war with Chicago. He thinks it's cool. He doesn't.
But also at 4
His
a.m.
fans shouldn't.
But also at 4 a.m. on Easter Sunday, he was also posting about committing a genocide.
Brother Gabriel here. So here's my take on it. If President Trump posted the image of himself as Jesus Christ to signal to the world that he views himself as Jesus, or if he esteems himself as somehow being on par with Jesus, or simply as being a type of Jesus Christ, and by the way, I'm not being facetious in saying if he checks any of those three choices I just articulated, then it's highly probable because of this fact right here. Trump portraying himself as Jesus is not rocket science as to what prompted it. I mean, think about it. Multitudes of his MAGA disciples have repeatedly heaped this very sort of praise and adoration, even we could call it worship, upon Trump since he made his appearance riding down that elevator. You remember, was back on June 16, 2015, when he announced his first presidential run. Case in point, Paula White Cain, a televangelist and personal spiritual advisor, personal pastor to Donald Trump, has stated that rejecting or saying no to President Trump is, as she puts it, equivalent to saying no to God. But she has consistently argued that Trump is appointed by God and that opposing him is tantamount to opposing God's will. No matter what he says or does, they continue to think that Trump hung the moon. And in essence, what they're saying is don't confuse them with the facts, because they've already made up their minds about what they allege is Trump's divine appointing or anointing, especially advocated by the, quote, Christian Zionist and the Christian nationalism movements, those entities. You talk about an oxymoron, it's like jumbo shrimp. They don't go together. Christian and Zionist don't go together, and Christian and nationalism don't go together. Both groups have sorely misguided and off-the-wall views of Bible prophecy and of eschatology, meaning the study of end times events. Here's another angle that I reckon has to be considered. Trump was presenting himself as Jesus Christ. Was it just some sort of metaphor? Or maybe even lampooning or doing it as satire? Matter of fact, Trump's VP, J.D. Vance, who converted to Catholicism in 2019, in speaking with Brett Baer of Fox News on April 13, 2026, wrote off the whole Trump dressed up as Jesus thing as merely a spoof. Yeah, Vance said, quote, the president's post depicting him as Jesus was a joke, end quote. I fail to see the laughter in that personally, but Vance added, of course he took it down because the president recognized that a lot of people were not understanding his humor in that case, end quote. But the salient question, the poignant question that comes to my mind is this: is it even permissible morally to use a parody to joke about something so holy, so sacred as pretending to be Jesus Christ, even if it was supposedly done only in jest or just a gag of some kind, a joke, as Vance insists? But is it not irreverent to conflate or combine the sacred with the common? I'm sure your parents taught you, as mine did me, there are some things in life that should never be joked about. Period, full stop. Now, conversely, if I knew for a fact, if I knew with certainty that President Trump posted the pic of him being Jesus, if his intention was to emphasize that he is the Christ, or as a Messiah figure of some kind, if he even thinks that he is, then that would be inexcusable with me. That would cross the line. That would cross the point of no return as far as I'm concerned. If he really believes that, that's the question. Now, that would unequivocally and incontrovertibly be blasphemous. And furthermore, it would also be committing the specific sin of idolatry. The Ten Commandments strictly forbids idolatry. Idolatry, of course, defined as the worship of someone or something other than God himself. If Trump were to think that he is a modern-day Jesus of some type or a fulfillment of Christ in some way or another, then indeed that would be idolatry on steroids. But if J.D. Vance is right about it, if J.D.'s right, and if Trump was just joking or clowning around by imitating Jesus, then I would say that at best it was an utter fail. It was an attempt to make a spiritual point, or maybe just call attention to himself, which he's not shy about doing that, of course. But I believe if that's what he was trying to do, it certainly backfired, because he's been criticized for his Jesus skit by some folks within every religious and political camp found on the top side of this earth. Surprisingly, some from his own camp, from his MAGA organization, and from various conservative groups. Let's face it, President Trump has an ego bigger than Texas, or shall I say bigger than New York City, since he hails from there. And he loves to be in the spotlight continually. Everybody knows that. Going back to at least when he starred in his own reality TV show called The Apprentice. So perhaps he was doing the Jesus bit to cause all this hoopla in the media to once again place him front and center during, by the way, his verbal karate match that he's been having with Catholic Pope Leo. They've been going back and forth like a snake and a mongoose over political issues and over morality and so forth. Hey, I recall, maybe you do as well, before Leo was named as the Pope of Rome in May of 2025, Trump even posted an AI-created photo of himself dressed up in a Pope costume. Yeah, and as I recall, he said openly at that time, he said he would like to be Pope. After the death of Francis, he had stated that. Does Trump love to have his ego massaged? Apropos, I would answer that with, does the Pope wear white? Please share your views in the comment section about this explosive, important Bible issue. And also check out the smorgasbord of episodes in both our shorts and in our regular length categories at this YouTube channel. I can promise you this, we're not your average, ordinary, everyday, garden variety, Bible-based YouTube channel. We believe that truth can afford to be fair. Yes, it can. Thanks for listening. Thanks for subscribing and for clicking like if our content speaks with your spirit on some level. And also thanks for sharing our programs. Thanks for sharing our installments with people you know. We do from time to time, as we did in this particular presentation, we from time to time use clips from other channels via the fair use doctrine for the purposes of education, news, and commentary for religious, spiritual, or biblical instruction and enlightenment. Until next time, this is Brother Gabriel reminding you it takes a whole Bible to make a whole Christian. Make no mistake about it.
The BIBLE Basic Instructions Before Leaving Earth.